Hey everyone, welcome back to the Transfer Talks podcast. My name is Sasha Lynette, and I'm a Transfer Talks peer mentor here. And today I'm joined with our lovely guest, Carolina, and I'll hand it over to you to introduce yourself. If you want to tell me, like, I don't know, your major, your name.
Yeah, so my name is Carolina Peña. I am a grad student in the Counseling Student Affairs program here at NAU. This is my second year and my last semester, so I'll be graduating in May. And I'm a graduate assistant here for both Peer Jacks and Transfer Jacks.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. We're going to start off with some light questions. What have you enjoyed about the NAU environment as you've worked here?
What I like is that I feel like there's always something to do.
Mhm.
So whether it's like a Monday, like early in the day, or Friday night, or even like Saturday night, there's something to do.
Yeah.
So if you're bored and you don't know what to do, literally go look up on like NAU social media, the official NAU page, or the True Blue Connects. And I feel like you'll just find so much stuff to do, whether it's like I don't know, like a basketball game, or like a crafting event, or like sometimes they like host like dances.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool. So I feel
sure.
like, I don't know, if you live on campus, definitely take advantage of that.
Absolutely, that's good advice. Like Sun Entertainment's always doing an event.
Yeah, I know they always host Wingo.
Yeah,
I know
they just had line dancing.
Oh yeah. I know
fun.
Wingo's also really popular. So
yeah, shout out to Sun Entertainment.
Yes.
Okay, next question. How do you unwind or recharge after a long week? Do you have any fun like rituals or hobbies that you do?
Yes. So I love going to the HLC to their free fitness classes because, as a grad student, there's not a lot of money, so you need to find what's around. And yeah, the HLC has like really great like classes for any students to go to. For example, I love going to the yoga classes. Last semester, I had this routine like where every Thursday night after class, I would go to yoga at like 7:15. So it was my way of like unwinding.
Yeah, it's always good to have like a routine too.
Yeah. So this is definitely a good way to unwind after a long week. And just like other classes too, like cycling. It's really fun. It's harder than it looks, but it's really fun. It's pretty challenging, but it's really cool to go to. And they have like the little disco lights or whatnot.
I was gonna ask, do they play like a playlist or anything?
Yeah, so sometimes they have like themed nights.
Nice.
So I haven't been to them, but I've seen online they have like themed nights, and it's really cool. Nice. I've gone to like a women on weights class. That one's really cool too. And like I guess on the weekend I love just going into downtown or around Flagstaff, seeing what restaurant I haven't been to and just kind of checking it out, or like a little coffee shop or something like that. So yeah.
Do you have a favorite coffee shop or like restaurant, or one you would recommend that people go to?
I love Steep Leaf in downtown. I don't have a lot of coffee, but I do have a lot of good refreshers and like teas, and they have nice like like pastries. What I love about it is like the environment too. You can just sit down and chat. And they have games too, so I usually go and play chess while like drinking a refresher and like, eating my little like pastry. So it's a nice time.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, that's it for light questions. We're gonna move on to some deeper questions. Okay. Don't worry, they're not too bad. First one, can you tell us a little bit about your journey that led you to NAU? What brought you here, and how was your transfer experience? And maybe what excites you about being part of the community? You kind of mentioned that, but
yeah. So I guess it first started when I was, first in high school. And I remember at the time when I was a senior, I was so like adamant on going to U of A because I have family in Tucson, and I had cousins who went to U of A, so I was like, this is the perfect choice for me. But I still applied to all in-state schools, but I didn't end up getting a lot of like financial aid or as many scholarships as I anticipated.
Oh, you didn't get it. I thought you said you did
get it.
No, sorry,
I did not. And so I was really frustrated. So the best choice at that point was to stay home at a community college in Yuma, at Arizona Western College. I'm not gonna lie, at the time I was not so happy about it. I was angry because I was like, oh my gosh, like I really want to leave home and whatnot. but it ended up being a blessing in disguise. Like, I had a great time. I learned so much from like the professors I had at that institution, and I got to meet so many people, so many like great people, and I built a lot of relationships. And from there I was like, okay, now I can go to like ASU. So I changed my mind to ASU, but then because of like, again, like financial constraints, I was like, okay, like someone advised me to stay at NAU Yuma.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up there. And once again, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm sad and I'm angry that I haven't been able to leave yet. But once again, and then ended up being another blessing in disguise.
Love
like
that.
The professors, again, like I had, were all so great. They were all so passionate about what they were teaching.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed every single class I took, and
Nice.
I got the opportunity to work with the Yuma Educational Success Program as a mentor. I was able to build, relationships with the team that I was working with, and then they helped me get to grad school.
Nice.
So, I loved NAU Yuma so much, and when I realized I wanted to go into a grad program, I saw, they had the counseling student affairs here at the main campus. So I was excited to, continue my journey with NAU, and that's how I ended up here in Flagstaff.
Nice, that's awesome. I'm so glad you did.
Yes,
now I get to work with you.
Yeah, so it's been really fun.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. Can you share a bit about what 2NAU is and kind of like how it works, how you apply, things like that?
Yeah, so there is a program called 2NAU. It is a scholarship program for students who are starting off at community college. So the way this program works is you apply to the 2NAU program 2 semesters before you actually transfer over to NAU. And then when you actually transfer to NAU, you get a $1,000 scholarship each term. Yeah, which is really cool. It's a nice way to like get some extra money for your education. And it can also be combined with other scholarships. So as a transfer student, if you have a good GPA of at least, I believe, like a 2.5 with your community college, go over to NAU, you already get a transfer award. So the 2NAU is kind of an award on top of that.
Awesome.
So you can get 2 at a time or even more depending on what you apply to. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. And the process is super easy. All you do is literally, you just go to 2NAU.com, or actually no, not .com. Just search up 2NAU. It's going
NAU 2NAU.
Yeah, it's just gonna pop up and it'll give you some more information, and the link to apply should be on there somewhere. And even though you won't get the scholarship until you get to NAU, those 2 terms before you transfer over, you still have access to NAU like resources and NAU like guidance, like advising and mentoring. Yeah. So kind of helps you like prepare for NAU. So
absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing about that program. It's super important.
Yeah, so if any of you are watching and are starting community college, definitely check it out if you're thinking of coming to NAU after.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next question. What is a piece of advice you have for new students, or maybe just a piece of advice that's like always stuck with you?
Yeah, so I guess, when I started working as a mentor, I was working with, prospective NAU transfer students. So something I would notice a lot is that a lot of these students were scared to reach out to like a resource, a service, or like someone on campus. Yeah. So that's when like I start telling people like, hey, don't be afraid to reach out. Yeah. And I know it's like super simple advice, but when I reflect on my times as an undergrad student, like fear is what held me back from like doing a lot of things. Absolutely. Whether that was like joining a club, or like reaching out to even like financial aid, because like I was scared that they were gonna be like, like, why is she coming with these questions?
Why is she calling?
Exactly. Yeah. So I was always scared to do that. So I know if I had more courage in just asking a simple question or asking for help, like my undergrad experience wouldn't have been as like confusing and challenging. So that's something I always tell people. And like, you know, the services we offer like are literally like they literally exist to support students. So they're here for you. So, you know, any questions are welcome, any concerns are welcome. So yeah, that's probably like the best thing I could say.
That's a great advice, because I know that when I first transferred here, I kind of struggled with that too, like reaching out to people. So that's why I liked that the transfer department reached out to me, and like they were the first ones to be like, hey, like I'm your transfer mentor, I'm here for whatever you need. So that definitely helped me, like, you know, make my first friend here. And I like came to a transfer event and like met people through that. So yeah, that's what I really appreciate about this program. But that's really good advice.
Yeah, and like just to add on to that a little bit, like there's really like so many services for you. You know, if you're a first gen student, there's a program out there for you. If you're a transfer, if you're a first year, there's a mentoring program for you.
Absolutely.
If you need help, like, you know, making a resume, or like you've never done a cover letter, you have no idea where to start, there's a service out there for you.
Yep, a whole department
so, exactly for that. Yeah, so there's so many things and so many people that you can like literally reach out to on campus. So
absolutely, for sure. I wish I kind of like jumped on that sooner. Now that I'm like at the end of my school, like I'm like,
I know, and I think about it too. I'm like, oh, I wish I, you know, had done a little bit more of that.
Yeah, so it's like we regret that. So like, you know, don't regret
that.
Yeah. Just do it. Okay, awesome. You kind of already touched on this, but you've been involved with the transfer and PureJacks programs in multiple capacities. How did your time as a mentor at NAU Yuma kind of shape how your current role and the way you work with mentors now?
Yeah, so, you know, I've worked in like education, right, for about, I guess it's my 5th year working in like a higher education setting. But I've had jobs where, you know, they're not in the higher ed setting, and in those jobs, you know, I had a lot of like managers or like supervisors who, you know, were like, they were bothered if I had questions or if I didn't understand something right away. So it made the job more challenging, and I was just scared to ask for help. So when I started working at like Arizona Western College, and as a mentor specifically at NAU Yuma, I had a great team, and like my coordinator, since like our program was obviously like a little smaller, you know, the mentors, we were like a team of 5 mentors. So my coordinator was also our supervisor at the same time. She was really great at like training us. And she was always like good with like at telling us like, hey, if you need any help or have any questions, like let me know, because like I want you to be successful. So even when I was first starting out as a mentor and I was like, oh, I don't know how to call people, or I don't know how to like have these kinds of conversations, like her door was always open, and she always welcomed like any conversations about whatever we were doing. And so it was always super collaborative, and not just my coordinator at the time, Rocio, but like the program director at the time too, Marcy. I think they both were really great at like taking like the mentors like input and feedback about like you know, a variety of things, whether it was like, oh, like what event do you think would work best, or you know, what kind of workshops should we hold. So it was cool like having a say in that, and I didn't just feel like a worker, I felt like I was actually like involved in like the program, like what we did to like help students out. So that is what inspired me and the way that I work with mentors now. I love for it to be like a collaborative thing. So I love like hearing their input and what they have to say. I don't just like to like dictate what they're going to do, even though of course we have procedures and regulations, that kind of stuff. But you know, I like to see like what's working for them and what's best for them, and kind of try to work around like what they feel comfortable with. I don't know, I just love like the collaborative process and coming with like a goal together. So I think that's what makes a job fun for me, at least. And I just don't like to like micromanage and like dictate every single thing that the mentors do. I trust that they do like their thing, you know, like, and of course like I check up on them, make sure that everything's going well, and I always try to like make it known that they're always welcome to like ask any questions or ask for help.
Yeah.
Because I understand, you know, life gets in the way sometimes, or like, and you can't meet like some expectations.
Yeah.
So as long as we're communicating and, you know, coming up with a plan, like that is good to me.
Yeah. And on the receiving end of that, you know, because you're my GA,
yes,
I will say that it is really helpful and just really nice to know that I can come to you with like whatever I need, and that you are a very approachable person. You know, I'm not ever nervous or like scared to come to you, which I think is a really important trait, like as kind of like a leadership position or someone in a leadership position, to have that trait. And just, yeah, I really appreciate that you have that, because I've definitely been in like other jobs, you know, and I like the job, I don't like my manager or their style, and then it makes me not like the job, you know? So it kind of like bleeds into that. So I just want to like thank you for being a great graduate assistant.
Well, thanks for your feedback. That I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah.
And you know, like I know with my team back in Yuma, like they didn't just support me as like a worker, but they supported me as a student and as like a human being overall. Absolutely. So that's what I really loved about it. I didn't just feel like I was there to work. Like they genuinely cared about me and like the things that I did. So I always also try to have just like regular conversations with like the mentors, you know that I'm not just like someone to like watch over them, you know, like if they need advice, like they were welcome to ask. Maybe I don't have like the best advice, but you know, if they want advice. But you know, if they want to hear from me, like they can. So
absolutely. And we appreciate that as your little GA team.
Thank you.
Okay, last question. Were there any specific moments or people in your life that influenced your decision to work in a university setting?
Yeah, so back at NAU Yuma, I had a psychology professor. His name was Dr. Christopher Gore. Nice. And he always pushed me to like, you know, go outside my comfort zone. So that was really cool. I never had a professor do that. He like pushed me to be like the president of like the psych club over there. It was only for one semester because it was
still president.
yeah, it was really stressful, but it's like an experience I wouldn't have like had if he wasn't like inspiring me and motivating me to like take on leadership roles. So I just thought about how important it is to, you know, to have like professors and faculty, staff to inspire students like that.
Absolutely.
And another experience, I guess, was working with the YES program at NAU Yuma. And I remember, you know, like being a mentor. And when I first started the job, my coordinator, she was just like, yeah, you know, you just help out students like with whatever they need. And I was like, what do you mean? Like,
you're gonna pay me for that?
Yeah, I was like, there's so much. Like, I don't know, you know, but you know, I was having meetings and stuff, and a lot of it, like, you know, it was like resource sharing, giving information, helping students like choose their classes, or like telling them about scholarships, you know, that they didn't know about, or I don't know, just like random stuff, you know, like there's these events going on, like you should check it out. These are, we have these workshops, go check it out, you know. But then like the more meetings I had, like the more experiences I had where students would like come into the office like super like frustrated or like nervous, anxious about like, you know, just something, and they would ask me about it. I'd be like, here, like I have the answer, like here you go. And before I didn't think much of it, but then like I would see them like leave the office like relieved, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, like thank you so much, like I didn't know like this existed. And then I was like, oh wow, like that's really cool, you know, that even like just a small piece of information could really change like a student's journey. And I think about again like my journey and being like an undergrad, you know, and like a first gen student. I didn't know a whole lot, so I didn't know like who to like contact or like where to look for scholarships. And I know if someone had like told me about it, informed me a little bit more, and like motivated me to like apply to these things, or like, you know, seek out these resources, it would have made such a difference. Absolutely. So yeah, and I kind of saw that in like the mentees that I had, and they'd be like, you know, again, like thank you so much. And you know, as a graduate assistant now, like I see those students that I mentored here at the campus, and they're like, yeah, like you helped me so much, you know. And I'm like, wow, like that's really cool, you know, and that's what inspired me really to like start like want to keep working at a university setting. And I remember once going to like my coordinator's office, and I was like, I want to do this for a living. Like, can I actually do that? And she's like, yeah, you actually can. I was like, it's called like educational leadership or like student affairs, and that's when I started looking more into like the grad program. So yeah, that was really cool.
Awesome. I think I can definitely relate to that. That's one of my favorite parts of the mentoring job is like seeing students come in and they're, you know, a little bit lost and they don't know what's like happening. They don't know what they should do, and then getting to help them and then seeing them walk out and like them feeling better. It's just like like a win for us.
Yeah, and it's really cool seeing them like be more confident.
Yeah, absolutely.
In like their journey, you know, and like more confident in like reaching out to people. Yeah. Or like even more confident just like going to events, you know, so they could put themselves out there. Yeah. So it's nice to see.
Yeah. It's important to kind of like see people, you know, like make the most of their experience at NAU, you know, like we've been in that position, so it's really nice. Okay, that's it. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Carolina, for joining me today. Had such a fun chat. Is there anything else you want to mention before I let you go? It's okay if you don't.
No, I think I'm okay, but awesome. It was a fun time being here. I loved sharing like my experience. Hopefully people hearing or watching this like remember that, you know, like there's so many services out here for you, and you know, if you ever need help, like don't hesitate to contact somebody.
For sure. And like our job is literally to service students.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't be afraid. Okay, that's it. Amazing. We killed it. Thanks so much for listening.